by one of the greats, a Hall of Famer, class of 2020, a Super Bowl champion, a 4-time Pro Bowler, none other than Isaac Bruce. Isaac, it is great to have you here, a legend of Rams football as well. Thank you so much for doing this. This is fantastic.
Man, thanks for having me. It's a beautiful place. Really my first time in this part of California, but I'm truly enjoying it. The Legends Attic is something to behold. I mean, a lot of great memorabilia, and I'm just in awe of some of the photos that I just saw. And always great to be back here in Southern Cal.
Do you ever get used to you being one of these guys? You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny to me, too, when you talk with Kirk, you talk with DeMarco, and you guys that played in the league, and even players see other great players and like, wow, there's this guy and this guy. Well, you are one of those guys too. Do you still get a kick out of seeing all the other ones?
Absolutely. But the thing is, sometimes you get the sense of familiarity with guys. I mean, you see Marshall Faulk all week long, and he's just Marshall. You see Kirk, you see Torrey all week long. That's just those guys. But then you get in awe again when you see the work that they put in on Sundays. Yeah. You know, the things that they did and the way that they did them. So, you know, I just met Mr. Hershiser.
Sure.
And his nickname always comes up to me, the Bulldog. So,
yeah.
Just some of the things that he did. I was able to see his Cy Young trophy, first one I ever seen in my life. So
sure.
It was a pleasure, truly a pleasure.
You know, one of the big things is as a Hall of Famer, as a player, you know, you go out and everyone's always saying Isaac Bruce, but we don't realize how much of a fan that you are of the other sports and of other players. You mentioned Earl Hershiser. How much do you see other guys and you just say, you know what, man, I'm your biggest fan as well?
Just about every summer now since 2020, I've had the pleasure and the privilege of going back to Canton, Ohio, watching the other guys get inducted. I see Earl Campbell. I see a whole table full of Steelers. And it's just, you know, they could call it the Steelers Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's so many of those guys. But, when I see a guy like Dan Marino, I grew up in South Florida. I was a Miami Dolphin fan right up until the point I got drafted. Wow. And I became a Ram for the rest of my life. And, when I see Dan, he typically rolls his eyes when he sees me coming because I want a selfie with him because I grew up watching him, doing everything that he did on the field. I'm a big fan of his. The Dolphins came out here last year to play, and I caught him in the lobby of the hotel, and we did our selfie thing again. So I'm a football fan. I'm a huge fan of the game. I love it. I still enjoy watching it, college, pro. And, I turn into a fan when I see those guys.
Isaac Bruce, the Hall of Famer, joining us here on Trav and DeMarco. Kirk Morrison in for DeMarco today. And, I've asked DeMarco this question a lot. And you guys were together. You started here in L.A. for one season before moving to St. Louis. And quite frankly, the team wasn't very good at the beginning. You guys won 4 games, 7 games, 6 games, 5 games. And then all of a sudden, boom, it changes. And you guys go 13-3. You got a team that's filled with future Hall of Famers. Did you know you were onto something as you were building? Could you feel yourself getting closer and closer?
Well, I think once Coach Dick Vermeil took over, we became a tough team. We were a losing tough team, and you know what that's like. I mean, you play a lot of close games, but eventually you're going to find a way to lose it. So we played on those teams for a while, and I think in the spring of '99. From a draft standpoint, from a free agency standpoint, we brought in some guys that could truly make a difference, and we brought in the man himself, Coach Mike Martz.
Yeah, Coach
Mike Martz just really walked around, and you could feel and see the confidence just dripping from him. And when he get up in front of the offensive team, that really imparted that confidence to us, and it went from meeting rooms to the practice field to charter flights, and when we got on the football field, it was a sight to see.
Take me back to 1994. Yeah. Pick number 33 by the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah. What do you remember most about that moment and when they called your name?
Well, I had completed 2 my freshman and my sophomore year of junior college out here at Santa Monica City College. I went on to Memphis to play 2 years there, but the draft is so. It's different. You really don't know where you're going.
Right.
You interview with just about every team, and I heard stories about the team that interviews you the most. They probably won't even have a chance to select you. It'll probably be someone that you never interviewed with.
Right.
It's kind of similar in my experience. The Rams came to one of our practices, I think in November, And the message was that, we didn't like anybody out there. So, I figured I wasn't coming back to L.A. in that sense. But, I was sitting, I didn't have a big party. I just really sat not too far from my dorm room at Memphis. And, I got a funny story because it was actually captured on ESPN. So the first round is over. I didn't go first round, but Chris Berman, he's like, telling everybody we're going from ESPN to ESPN2 now. So as he's signing off on ESPN, I hear in the very background, the Rams are up picking. And I hear second round, 33rd pick and I heard the word Memphis. And I kind of got on the front of my seat, right? So, and then I heard Isaac, right? And I was like, I heard the guy in the back call my name, right? So, and my agent's sitting there. He's like, well, no, I don't think he called you, but Isaac Davis from Arkansas, he's a guard. And I was like, bro, I mean, you're fired, okay? I heard my name. So, you hear the little music. The little music. Chris Berman is still talking. Mm-hmm. And it says current selection, 33rd overall pick, Isaac Bruce, Memphis. And I was like, I told you that was me. And I just proceeded to tear up his house and kicked everything over. Got a phone call from Chuck Knox. From Chuck Knox to Georgia Frontier, which was the owner at the time. Nice woman, very precious woman. And, that was it. Flew me out the next day.
Terrific.
Back in L.A. They gave me Henry Eller's number 80. And when I see 83, I always think Flipper Anderson.
Flipper, right.
Yeah. So, they gave me his number, and, I tried to do my best to, put it in the Raptors for
well, you did a pretty good job. You made it to the Hall of Fame. So I think you scratched that box for sure. You mentioned Chris Berman. I was talking with one of your former teammates, DeMarco Farr, my everyday co-host, and he told me the story. He goes, you got to ask Isaac, and you just mentioned his name, about Chris Berman, that when you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, that Chris Berman was doing the introductions, and he kind of put you in a little bit of a pickle, didn't he?
Well, Chris Berman is funny. He's at the start of my career, and he's at the culmination of the whatever hopefully whatever National Football player wants is to be in Canton, Ohio.
Sure.
He kind of introduced me, and as I'm getting ready to go to the podium, I have my speech all planned, my iPad right there, and unfortunately for me, when Chris introduced me, he grabbed everything up and went and took a seat, including my iPad. So I'm standing there. I'm standing there without my iPad, and I have nothing. So I kind of just went from the heart of everything, my full career, and it turned out pretty good.
So you had this entire speech written out. Absolutely. You were planning on reading a speech, and Berman walks off with it, and you're just up there saying, okay, I guess I'm just going to let it rip?
Yeah, pretty much. And the whole time he's sitting to my left, right behind me with my iPad on his lap.
Boom. Bring that iPad
Gave
back
it to
over
me
here.
at the end of it. So good job, man. I was like, all right, yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to read the speech to anybody? Do you still have it?
I think I still have it on my iPad, but no, I didn't get a chance to read it out publicly then.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You mentioned that you go back to Canton every year and for the Hall of Fame inductions. And you mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers and their little group, their tables.
Right.
Well, we know that the Rams table is getting bigger as well.
Yeah, it is.
Especially, yourself. You can throw in Orlando Pace, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk. Yeah. Obviously, we're waiting on Torrey. We know Torrey's going to get in there. Right. But how is it now when you walk around Canton and you talk about those busts, the face of the guys who were immortalized forever? Yeah. Do you sit back and say, man, I can't believe what we accomplished, that Rams group that will live on for history as one of the great teams in NFL history?
Well, as an athlete, particularly a professional athlete, we have the mentality of more. With those many guys being in that huddle at that time, you have a Hall of Fame coach and Dick Vermeil, Torrey coming up, and even London Fletcher. He had a great career,
rookie,
longevity. Mm-hmm. He could actually be there one day. You just feel like you left a lot on the table. We went to 2, played in 2, won 1, lost 1, and had the opportunity with the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed in 2004 for another opportunity to make a run and go to a Super Bowl. And unfortunately, we just didn't get it done. So when we talk more about missed opportunities than Super Bowl 34 and celebrating that way. So Yeah, I mean, we professional athletes, we're just different. We're funny, sometimes crazy in a good way, though.
So you mentioned Super Bowl 34. You guys beat the Tennessee Titans. There's the famous play. Mike Jones makes the tackle, on the 1 yard line, and here he comes. And what's going through? Obviously, defense is on the field. You're on the sidelines. You're watching this happen as they run the play, as Steve McNair's looking down, and all of a sudden, take me through what you're seeing as the Super Bowl is. You're going to win or lose the Super Bowl on this play.
Well, I'm just watching a football game up to that point. I mean, and you talk about Steve McNair. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit.
No, he doesn't.
For the way he played. I mean, he's the MVP of the league, and just that last drive within itself. Normally, when I'm watching the defense play, I normally stand opposite of where the action is happening.
Okay.
Because, you got your defensive guys up there, you got your defensive coaches and coordinators. They're bringing guys in, calling plays, so I don't want to get mixed in there. And plus, all of them are pretty tall. I can't see over them anyhow.
Okay.
So I normally stand at the opposite field, and at the very beginning, I watch the snap take place on the Jumbotron to my right, and then, kind of watch the end of the play on the field. So that was just my MO. So same process. I watch the snap take place. I see Steve go back. I see him let the ball go, but then I couldn't tell what happened. So I looked to the opposite side of the field. I wanted to see the reaction of the Tennessee Titans because that's going to tell me the story, right? So they're kind of slow walking, and then I kind of veer to my sideline. I see everybody rush the field. So that let me know that somebody had made the tackle. Somebody didn't get in the end zone. So it took me probably a couple of days later to figure out what really happened.
Oh, really?
And see Mike Jones make that play and just see how close Chris Dyson was sending that game into overtime.
I want to know the feeling, though. 6 catches, 162 yards.
I was about my business.
You was about your business. But what is it like to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl? Like, what's the feeling? You cross that goal line. And everybody's watching you. Isaac Bruce, 162 for a touchdown.
Well, you have a total of 22 starters, offensively, defensively, and we all have big dreams, right? And I can honestly say that I've never had a dream of blocking in a Super Bowl. I've never had a dream of even throwing a touchdown pass in the NFL in a Super Bowl. Never making a tackle, never had that dream, but I've always had the dream of catching the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Even if you're the great Jackie Slater, now I rib him. That's one of my best friends. His dream couldn't have been blocking in the Super Bowl. It had to be catching or running the ball into the end zone in the Super Bowl. You have that dream. So to be able to have that dream fulfilled in Super Bowl 34 in front of family, friends and foes, and just how the stadium is split between Titan fans and Ram fans, it was exhilarating. It was all the emotions that I could think of, and really just walking back after the play to the sideline with Georgia Frontier, who never comes out of the out of the whatever she was, but be walking on the sideline. I'm thinking, what are you doing here? But moments that are really etched into my mind, I'll never forget it.
The Hall of Famer Isaac Bruce joining us. And you've mentioned Dick Vermeil, Mike Martz. Kirk mentioned all of your Hall of Fame teammates, Orlando Pace, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, yourself. And was there one thing in particular that made that group go? Because all great teams, Super Bowl winning teams, World Series winning teams, they've got a lot of great players, but there's usually one thing that kind of like, hey, we found the thing that really brought it all together. Was there one thing for that Rams team that just kind of made everything hum?
I'd have to say confidence. Unfortunately, I played at a time where the San Francisco 49ers, that team up north, was like humming. And they had guys all over the field from an offensive standpoint, defensively, and had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that I had to play against. And, the biggest thing with them is what I saw was confidence. They were going to find a way to win, and they were going to find a way to do it in style. So I think as a whole, when the Greatest Show on Turf came together, we were very confident. When we got off the plane, we felt like we were going to win. And I felt like the opposing teams that we played kind of sensed the same thing too. So they may throw a punch. They may even land a punch. But at the end of the day, you're going to see Torrey Holt running 80 yards. You're going to see Oz doing another punt return. You're going to see Tony Horn with a big kickoff return. You're just going to see Marshall, doing what he does.
Marshall,
whatever it was, you were going to see that happen. So, yeah.
One of the things that DeMarco always talks about with that group is that you guys were like a family, like brothers. Yeah. Because I look at a team that is as talented as you guys were, with so many different guys that needed the football in their hands. And I sit back and I'm saying, well, there's Ricky Prohl, and there's Oz Hakeem, and there's Bruce, and there's Holt, and there's Conwell, the tight end, Roland Williams on that team. Because in today's NFL, a guy doesn't get the football, he's reading books on the sidelines, right? or he's upset he's not getting the football. Yeah. Kind of talk about how you guys were able to say, you know what, we are able to share because we know it's for the greater good of the team. Yeah. There wasn't this, I need the football at all times. Yeah.
Well, that need for the football, is still there. Right. Trust me, some of that diva, it's still there. But what we found a way to do was to kind of subdue it, kind of let it simmer. And at the same time, we used the energy to block for each other. Because I truly felt like we all liked each other.
Right.
You get some teammates and some teams where, you got a lot of talented players, but they don't like each other. I mean, they don't hang out. We hung out with each other. We go on road trips, and we go to dinner, go to lunch, and we truly celebrated the success of each other. Other guys were making plays when Coach Mike Martz would put the spotlight on a certain player. I mean, he'd give you a series where we're just going to go to Torrey right here, and this is what we're doing. So at times when I had to be the best or the number one decoy in the National Football League, I took pride in it, because I wanted to get my guy open. And I know he's going to do the exact same thing for me. And it just made my job easier, so I wanted to make his easier.
Hall of Famer Isaac Bruce joining us here at Legends Attic in Claremont. Rams made a big acquisition. This current Rams team, Davante Adams coming over. What are your expectations for him on a new team? But all of a sudden, we've seen what he looks like when he has a quarterback that performs at a high level. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Matthew Stafford obviously is a special talent at that position. Could we have a monster Davante Adams season coming our way?
I would hope so. I think he's at a point in his career where he wants to win. And that's important. Mm-hmm. I mean, make a deep run in the playoffs and ultimately end up in a Super Bowl. And with the Rams, you see how close we were last year. I mean, 2 or 3
right
plays.
There. Yeah.
2 or 3 plays. You're not talking about Jalen Hurts. You're not talking about Saquon Barkley anymore. You're talking about the Rams hosting the NFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. Well, I was probably this close to making reservations for my ticket to get out of it. So. But, I think he's in a good place. I think the core of the offense and what we're doing from an offensive line standpoint is really sticking out, and being able to protect Matthew Stafford. I feel like we may add to that tonight and through the weekend. So I feel like he's in a good spot and a good place where the Rams can really flex our muscles early in the season.
What about that, Isaac? First round of the draft tonight, and obviously the rest of the draft will play out over the weekend. But when you're in the league, and when you're on a good team, the way that you were, the way that the Rams are right now, drafting things that can help you now, this season, versus, hey, look, we got a team to run that we need to be good in 2028, 2030. As a member of a current team, are you watching the draft with a ton of attention, or thinking, let's get something for now? Or are you thinking, I kind of get what they're trying to do for the future?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. It's twofold. I mean, we can just look at it from a quarterback standpoint. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that we get somebody that's that can back Matthew up. Mm-hmm. Not only that, he can run the system when Matthew starts. I mean, you can't play forever,
right?
But you want to make sure that you get a guy where you at least have him for a year to really learn from someone. I think one of the biggest benefits I had was that I had Flipper Anderson, I had Jesse Hester, and these guys taught me how to be a professional wide receiver, taught me how to run routes versus zone. Just watching them every day helped me tremendously. When Jesse Hester kicked me in the game one time, and that was pretty much it. He's like, you're equipped, you're ready, so go ahead and go. So I think it can be twofolds. We can go in looking for that guy in the future, and that future may be week 12.
Yeah,
so, who knows?
Yeah. You went up against guys like Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, your own teammate Aeneas Williams. Yeah. But who was the toughest guy that going up against that you had to go up in a game? Who was that cornerback that you said, a lot of people may not know him, but, man, this dude gives me fits?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I never met him. we talk about confidence, right?
I love that.
There we go.
So I mean, but
torched everybody.
Yeah, but the thing about it, it's a guy like Aeneas. It's a guy like Deion Sanders. I mean, these are guys that are like They study the game.
Yeah.
They study routes. Yeah. They study route combination. They study splits. Anything that can help them get a read on a play that may be coming. That's just, those guys, you can tell they study the game, and, they get, but, Isaac Bruce is coming through.
People always say that people think that the game is so complicated, but you talk about it. Yeah. I know by where you're lined up at, where you're outside the numbers, inside the numbers, on the hash mark.
Correct.
The football game is about spacing.
Yes.
And once you learn spacing, and I never played in Mike Martz's system, but I know that's what you can't be a dumb football player in Mike Martz's system.
Not at all.
I've heard that from many a time. Why was that?
Because he expected you to think like a quarterback. He wanted to open your quarterback eyes. If you're a receiver, if you were an offensive lineman, he wanted you to have quarterback eyes. So I can tell at the snap of the ball if I was getting the ball or not. Because
you already knew.
Exactly. Based off our splits and based off the way the defense was lined up against what we were doing. So I can tell who they were taking away, if they were taking me away, if they were taking Torrey away. I'd better get open. If I had an opportunity to go against man-to-man coverage, I can tell that just at the snap of the ball. But the biggest thing about it is that, I said that we liked each other. So therefore, he could understand the same thing as far as what I'm seeing, and he go full speed. He'd be the best decoy in the league, and I'd have to be the best decoy in the league, and he'd be the best receiver in the league at times, and I'd have the privilege of being the best receiver in the league at times.
Isaac Bruce is coming through. All right, for sure.
I never found him. We never found somebody to cover him.
Two things I got to thank you for, Isaac. Number one, giving me another story where I've never met him. That's going to be something that I tell over and over again. That is fantastic. And number two, thank you so much for doing the show. Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Always.
Yeah, fantastic. Hall of Famer Isaac Bruce right